Today I will be showing you how to make this French twist bracelet, and you'll need 73 single rubber bands. I'm going to make this exact one, and the inside measures 6 1/8 long, so if you want to make it this length and this color you can, but you can make it however long and whatever color you want. So let's get started. You want your loom in this configuration. Right now on my right side I have the arrow pointing down, and on my left side I have the arrow pointing up. You can change your loom to that configuration, or you can just leave it, all the arrows, if you can't change it to it facing one direction. You just have to loop this left side backwards once you make the bracelet. So taking your color, mine will be red, and I'm going to twist it to make an X from the center peg to the right first. And I'm just coming down my loom by taking a single band and twisting it. Right down my loom. And I'm going to stop here from the third peg from the bottom, and you can make it your bracelet longer or you can make it shorter depending on your wrist size. So I'm stopping on a third peg, and then I'm just looping it, making an X to the center second, and I'm just going to continue up my left side of my loom now, continuing with my X. And these are with single rubber bands. And lastly, with my single rubber band, I'm twisting it from the center peg to the left peg. And now all my loom, these two rows are covered, connecting each other. My next color will be the color you see up the ridge, like here in the center. So decide what you want to use. And mine will be white. So I'm starting from the center again to the right. Just this time I'm just taking a single and just putting it right across my loom without twisting it. And lastly, closing it up from the center to the left peg, like that. And now what you want to do is go under, grab the bottom two bands, and loop up over the peg, and do that over every peg. Just grab the bottom two bands and looping it up over the peg it's on. Just go to each peg, grabbing the bottom two bands and looping it up over that peg. And over here we want to always loop our rubber bands to the inner side of our loom, not on the outside. So on this one here we want to reach on the outside and loop it up and over onto the center of our loom. So that's what it should look like. All your should be two single rubber bands showing on the outside of your loom, and all your first color should be looped up into the center of your loom, like that. And now we'll add our third color. Mine will be blue, and we'll add it straight on top of everything. I'm pushing all my rubber bands down taking your last color, I'm starting from the center to the right, and just once again just put it across with a single rubber band without twisting it. These are your last rubber bands, and this one will be the center of our bracelet, that band down there. Again, choose whatever color you want. And lastly, I'm going to stop right here from the left side, the first to the second peg. I'm going to stop there, and I'm turning my loom around. So now the arrow is facing the other way, and what I want to do now is I want to reach under in the second peg, grab, if your loom isn't turned, make sure you grab the bottom two bands, and I'm looping it right over onto the blue or the last rubber band we just put on. So now we just have one rubber band on that peg, and it should be the last color we put on there, and the other two rubber bands are on that single rubber band we just looped on. And we're going to repeat that for the whole bracelet. So we're taking the rubber band off. This is for the next one. We're taking the rubber band we just looped on off onto our hook. Grab the bottom two bands, and we're looping it right onto that peg, the rubber band in the center, and then we're going to loop back the rubber band that we took off onto that same peg we just took the rubber bands off. And we're going to continue once again. First, we're taking the rubber band off the loom and taking the bottom two bands from that peg we just took the rubber band off, loop it over that peg, and putting the rubber band we took off back onto that same peg. Repeat for the next one. Take the rubber band off first, take the bottom two bands, looping it over the peg we just took the rubber band off, and then putting the rubber band back on. And we're going to continue like that, taking the rubber band off first, pulling the bottom two bands over that same peg, over to the next rubber band, and looping the first rubber band back on. Once again, step 1, take off the rubber band. Step 2, pulling the bottom two bands over the peg we just took off the single rubber band onto the next rubber band. Step 3, putting the rubber band back onto that same peg. And just continue down like that. Once again, we're working backwards on the left side first, and we're going to continue all the way around to the very top here. So taking the bands off, looping the two rubber bands onto the next rubber band, and putting it back on. Just repeat that process. Now lastly, we want to add our last rubber band onto that connects from the center peg to the left side. And what we want to do is take the rubber band, the top rubber band, off the center peg onto a hook and put the single from the center to the left like that. And once again, we want to take the bottom two bands, the white ones, and looping it right onto that single that we just put on, and putting back the rubber band. And now we're going to loop backwards. Once again, we're starting on the left peg, grabbing the single rubber band off of the first peg and looping it down to the second peg, and just reach in, grabbing the bottom single and looping it to the next peg, and just continue down your loom, grabbing the bottom single and just looping it downwards to the next peg, making sure you see teardrops forming. Make sure you always reach under, grabbing the bottom two bands. Now I'm looping up the right side. Once again, grabbing the bottom two single and looping it up and onto itself. And we're at the top of our loom where the arrow is. We want to grab the bottom single and we want to loop it onto the, not to the first, but the second peg on the left. Now take a single rubber band. We're going inside the second peg to create a slip knot, and if you want to put a C-clip here, you can. So you want to pull your slip knot rubber band up and tie it off. And now we can take our bracelet off the loom. Tuck in your slip knot rubber band so you can't see it for our bracelet. So there's your bracelet, and there's your French twist bracelet. I hope you like it. Thanks for watching.